Recently, Kerala witnessed a mass religious gathering of Hindu community like never before. Its organizers called it the Maha Magha festival. For the first time in 270 long years, the Hindu community in Kerala, or by and large India, came together for the religious procession and festivities organized at the banks of river Bharatapuzha. Before 270 years, the Mamankam, yet another religious gathering which laid foundations to the very culture and traditions of Kerala, came to a halt owing to the invasion of Hyder Ali. Named by many as the Kumbh Mela of Kerala, the recent Maha Magha festival was subject to political and social controversy, either from politicians or different sections of the society, and people spoke for or against the festival. What and why were these controversies about? Is there any correlation between the Kumbh Mela, the Mamankam of the traditional Kerala, and this recent Mahamaka festival? Let us look at it factually, historically, and politically to understand the nuances. First, let us look at what exactly is Kumbh Mela. The Kumbh Mela, especially in North Indian context, is the mass religious gathering of Hindus all over India as a part of pilgrimage and for the ceremonious bathing in rivers they consider holy, such as Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, etc. These rivers are located in holy places such as Prayag, Haridwar, Ujjain, Nashik, etc. Being the largest gathering in the world as recognized by UNESCO, let us see how it came about. The mentions of ceremonial or holy bath in sacred rivers can be found in texts as old as the Rigveda. In Rigveda Parishishta, which is the appendix to the Rigveda, it is described auspicious bathing at the confluence of rivers which are dark and white, and this likely means Ganga and Yamuna. Thus, Prayag, where Ganga and Yamuna joins, is considered a holy land by many Hindus, and the mass gathering or Mela for the holy ablution likely began at Prayag during the later Vedic period, that is, between 200 BC and 200 AD. Later, in the 7th century CE, that is, between 629 to 645 CE, when the Chinese ambassador Xuanzang visited India, he describes a massive religious gathering at Prayag, hosted by King Harshavardhana, for the purpose of bathing in the conjunction of holy rivers Ganga and Yamuna. The modern day Kumbh Mela system began to materialize between the 12th and 15th centuries. Along with Prayag, the oldest pilgrim center, Haridwar also became the site for these large gatherings. This is also the time when the 12-year zodiac cycle for organizing these melas became associated with it. This zodiac cycle was according to the astronomical alignment of Jupiter or Brihaspati in the Indic context. Around this time, the word Kumbh was associated with these gatherings. It is likely that the word meant, at least initially, the Kumbh Rashi or the Aquarius position of Brihaspati or Jupiter, which was the time when the festival was held at Haridwar. But the common interpretation of the word Kumbh has roots in Puranas such as Matsya Purana and Bhagavad Purana. These are sacred Hindu scriptures. Along with epics like Mahabharata, these Puranas clearly mention the importance of ritual ablution at sacred rivers such as Ganga and Yamuna, and also the relevance of sites such as Prayag. These Puranas also provide the basis to the second and the most used interpretation of the word Kumbh. Kumbh means sacred pot or sacred pitcher. According to Hindu Puranas, the celestial ocean was churned by Devas and Asuras, and Amrit, or the nectar of immortality, was obtained from this churning and collected in a kumbh or sacred pitcher. It came to be believed by Hindus that this sacred pot was spilled at four places, which corresponds to modern day Prayag, Nashik, Haridwar, and Ujjain, and bathing at the rivers of these four places is considered auspicious. Historically, the association of this story and the word Kumbh with the religious gathering or melas can only be traced to the 12th century or afterwards, and is much likely a later interpretation. The Mughal period documents well established melas, much resembling the current melas at Haridwar and Prayag. By the 15th century, both these melas were well established. Coming to the fair at Nashik, Mughal era text Khulasat ul Tawarik documents a Simhasta fair at Nashik. It is likely that this fair later adopted to the Kumbh Mela name from those occurring at Prayag and Haridwar. Finally, the Kumbh Mela at Ujjain was started by Maratha ruler Ranoji Shinde, who invited the sadhus or ascetics from Nashik Mela to Ujjain to begin a local festival. The Kumbh Mela, apart from the fact that it is a religious pilgrimage, is also a festival of the Hindu community wherein sannyasis or monks from many well known akhadas or monasteries participate along with the common Hindu folk. The Mela sites are also centers of religious discourse between scholars of various Hindu denominations and also platform for the display of varying traditions within the vast Indic community. Politically, the Kumbh Mela has had very influential nature in India, historically and contemporarily. Primarily, the Kumbh Melas created a sense of unity among all class of Hindus, irrespective of their social or economic background. These melas were the platform for ascetics of various akhadas, especially those following the Dashanami Sampradaya set up by Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya, wherein they had from time to time defended their religious brethren. Whether it was from the Islamic policies of the Mughal king Aurangzeb in the 1600s or taking part in the first revolt of independence in 1857, yes, you heard it right, the Kumbh Mela in many ways facilitated the 1857 rebellion against the British colonial government. Historian Kama MacLean, in her book Pilgrimage and Power, clearly describes how Kumbh Mela pilgrimage networks and akhadas helped in circulating information, spreading anti colonial sentiment among pilgrims to even many akhadas and priests directly participating in the rebellion, which ultimately made Prayag, or Allahabad as it was called at that time, a key rebellion center. The monks of various akharas and the Prayagwal priests who traditionally held hereditary authority in the rituals and ceremonies of Kumbh Mela provided moral and material backing to the common Hindus to rise against the colonial empire. The Dashanamis, some factions of it being warrior ascetics, were also famed for their rebellion against the British in 1700s and especially in Bengal. This event is described in the form of a story in Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's famed novel Anandamath. After the rebellion of 1857, the British authorities viewed Kumbh Melas as potential political threats and took serious measures such as strict policing, intelligence gathering, regulating, and monitoring akharas and priests. This is evident from many British administrative records at the time. Even during the struggle for Indian independence in 1920s and 30s, many political leaders used Kumbh Melas for circulating nationalist ideals and inculcating religious and national identity, which resulted in widespread anti-colonial sentiment. After independence and unto this very day, Kumbh Mela stands as a fortification of the Hindu identity and thus a politically relevant religious mass gathering. According to reports, the last Maha Kumbh Mela at Prayagraj, occurring in 2025 and lasting over 45 days, was attended by more than 660 million or 66 crore devotees, pilgrims, and sannyasins from all over India and the world. The number itself speaks for its relevance, whether economical, political, social, or religious. We have talked about North India until now. Coming to South India, what is generally known and practiced as Kumbh Mela of South India is the Maha Magha festival at Kumbhakonam. Now, this festival can be historically traced to the time of Krishna Devaraya of Vijayanagara Empire, wherein inscriptions dating to 1500s clearly mentions him attending the festival. However, scholars say the festival is quite older than that and is traceable to the time of Cholas. Needless to say, this festival may be just as old as Haridwar Kumbh Mela. although not as ancient as the original Prayag Kumbh Mela. The festival, like in Prayag, is conducted every 12 years in the month of Magha according to the movement of planet Jupiter. Like the linkage of Prayag Kumbh Mela to Samudra Mathana and Kumbh or Nectar of Immortality, the Kumbhakonam festival is linked to the same mythology, although this time it is a bit inclined to Shaivite traditions. Nevertheless, the symbolism and the nature of the Mela is similar, and instead of bathing in river like at the other places, Kumbhakonam hosts a large sacred water reservoir which function like a public ritual space. The idols from major nearby temples, such as Shiva idol from Adikumbeshwar temple and Vishnu idol from Sarangabani temple, is dipped in this tank to sanctify it, and devotees observe penance through ritual ablutions. The tank has 20 sacred wells, each representing holy rivers such as Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, etc. In Karnataka too, a Kumbh Mela was started in 1989 by the ascetics of Sutur especially Deshigendra Swamiji. This Mela occurs at Tirumakutalu Narasipura in Mysore district, where three rivers, Kaveri, Kapila, and the mythical Spatika Sarovara confluence. Again, there is also a Sammaka Sarlamma Jatara, a large religious gathering in Telangana similar to Kumbh. But the origins of this festival is rooted in strictly historical context, wherein two tribal women, Samaka and Sarlama, who fought against the unjust laws of the kings, are deified and honored. This is different from Kumbh Melas, which has origins rooted in Puranic or Vedic scriptures. Now let us see what exactly is Mamangam. The history of Kerala is a much disputed and shrouded subject due to the obvious contemporary political and social narratives that is rampant in the state. For this video, nonetheless, we will stick to facts and narratives that only has logical and historical basis. So, the Kumbh Mela in Kerala, which is Maha Magam festival, is conducted in the month of Magha, just like in Prayag Kumbh Mela. The site of the Mahamagam is on the shores of Bharatapuzha river between Navamukunda temple, which is a Vishnu temple on the northern bank of the river, and a Brahma and Shiva temples on the southern bank of the river, thus forming a holy trio. According to Hindu legends, the Navamukunda temple was consecrated by nine yogis such as Korakanathar, Adinathar, and Arulitanathar, and there were nine idols in total. While installing and consecrating the idols, much to the surprise of the yogis, eight of them sank to the ground, and the ninth one was also sinking. But then the yogis, through their spiritual penance and pleas to Lord Vishnu, stopped the sinking of the ninth idol. To this day, one can witness that the idol in Sanctum Sanctorum or Sri Kovil is sunk up to the knee. Supposedly, sage Jamadagni, the father of sage Parashuram, performed his ancestral rites here. Therefore, the Navamukunda temple is also famous for its ancestral ritual importance for Hindus. Regarding Brahma's temple on the southern bank of the river, some believe it to be consecrated by Brihaspati, and the other theory is that it was consecrated and dedicated to Brahma by Parashuram. Anyway, that is your take. Apart from these two, an ancient Shiva temple is also nearby. Near to the Brahma and Shiva temples, there is also an ancient Othikon Madam or Oth Madam, which is a Vedic learning center for Brahmins, although it is by and large non functional today. Now, historically, the Mahamaham was a festival conducted every 12 years. It is possible that it was also an annual fest earlier, but the earliest verifiable sources tell that it was conducted in 12-year zodiac cycles, just like the main Kumbh Melas. Coming to ancient administration and social order, as far as history or historical evidence can be traced, the Navamukunda temple and Tirunavaya was initially under Valluvanad local chieftain who is officially called Konatiri. This continued even during the time of Perumals in Kerala, that is, between 9th and 12th centuries. During this time, the Maha festival was under the political authority of Konatiri, and the ritual authority lay with Alvancheri Mana, an age old Kerala Brahmin ancestral household. At that time, it was mostly a temple oriented festival with the Hindu community observing religious pilgrimages, ancestral rites, and performing austerities at the month of Magha. There are also evidences of religious discourse and code of conduct of Hindu community being decided here. However, towards the end of Perumal period in Kerala, the Samorin, who was the local chieftain of Eranad, captured Tirunavaya by defeating the army of Valluvanad. Thus, Samorin took control of Tirunavaya temple and became the political authority during the Mahamagam festival. From then on, the shores of Bharatapuzha turned into a venue of bloodbath between the soldiers of Samorin and the warriors sent by Konatiri to recapture Tirunavaya from Samorin and thus restore their broken honor. There are stories and ballads passed on orally through generations about the Chaverpada, which means suicide squads sent by Konatiri for defeating Samorin. There were even families whose entire life motive was to become a Chaver or suicide warrior and to conquer Zamorin. Many historical records show evidence of such conflicts, and although Zamorin won most of the time due to the strength in numbers and resources, those brave warriors, despite being very few in number, were literally deified and venerated because of their bravery and superior Kalaripayattu or martial arts skills. Names like Chandu Chegavan and members of Panikar family are among such brave warriors. By the 16th and 17th centuries, Mamankam was no longer a ritual or religious assembly. The festival was overshadowed by the militarized political event dominated by Zamorin with continued resistance from the Vallavanad forces. This is evident from many Portuguese records. However, in the 18th century, because of the pressure which arose due to the advent of external forces such as the Dutch, the Mamagam began losing its political and social significance. At last, Hyder Ali's invasion in 1766 laid the final nail on the coffin of Mamangam. Calicut, the seat of Samorin, was captured, and at this time, Samorin ultimately lost his power to the invasion, thus removing the significance of Mamangam. Although Hyder conquered much of northern Kerala, his rule was unstable owing to the resistance of other local chieftains and also because of the rising pressure in the north from Maratha and British forces. After Hyder Ali's death in 1782, his son Tipu took control over the Malabar region of Kerala, including the premises of Tirunavaya temple, for a brief time, that is, until 1792. In 1792, Tipu lost control of the region to the British forces, thus marking the end of Mysore rule in Kerala. Under the British rule in Kerala, religious and political gathering of Indians were restricted for their effective control of the province. Thus, although limited temple rituals and restricted pilgrimage continued to take place in Tirunavaya, it lost its past glory as a pilgrim center and festival spot. Along with that, the British also curbed the right to carry weapons and conduct military training in their colonial provinces, thus reducing and even leading to the extinction of Kalaris, Kerala's traditional martial arts schools. This ultimately nearly wiped out the once famed Kalari masters of Kerala. Thus, what remained at the Tirunavaya was a few memories of the past glory in the form of ballad folk songs that has been passed on through generations. Now, let us take a look at the current status and the events related with Maha Magha festival. As mentioned earlier, Hindu monasteries or akhadas are an integral part of Kumbh Mela. The oldest and largest of such akhadas is the Juna Akhada, envisioned by the Dashanami tradition of Sri Adi Shankaracharya. The ascetics of the Juna Akhada were very influential historically. among the Hindu community as well as across India as a whole. The ultimate revival of Tirunavaya Mahamagam as a proper Hindu festival was made possible mainly by the efforts of one such monk of Juna Akhada. He is Sri Anandavanam Bharati Maharaj, the Mahamandaleshwar or the top authority of Juna Akhada. Although genuine attempts were taken to revive the Maha Magha festival was made by a few individuals from 2016 onwards, such as conducting and restarting a few minor rituals such as Nila Puja, those were pretty minor ceremonies only attended by a couple of people at most. These minor rituals were carried out every year until 2025, although it was not a festival in any sense, and the number of people who turned out was also pretty low. However, with the involvement of Sri Anandavanam Bharati, the movement gained traction. Along with a team of like minded individuals, this monk organized and executed the plan to restore the past festive glory of Mamankam in the form of Maha Magha festival of 2026, and all that in a span of a few weeks. Under the patronage of many premier Hindu institutions such as Mata Amritanandamayi Mutt, discussions and committees occurred, and duties were assigned to individuals and groups, including media coverage, necessary constructions, waste management, etc. The government and the local authorities were notified beforehand, and the legal side was also covered. Day by day, the number of people who volunteered to help and the coverage of the news of the grand festival about to happen at Tirunavaya exponentially increased. The organizers planned to conduct the festival in all its grandeur, spanning over 18 days, that is, from January the 16th to February the 3rd. The Kerala and Tamil Nadu authorities, however, offered many hurdles to the festival organizers. For instance, despite the early submission of application for a temporary bridge construction across the Bharatapuzha riverbed in connection with the festival, a stop memo was issued by the village officer to the organizers at the last hour of preparations. The memo said that the construction violated provisions of the Kerala River Banks and Regulation of Removal of Sand Act of 2001. But similar temporary bridge constructions across Bharatapuzha River is common in festivals like the Sarvodaya Mela, an annual commemoration festival that is dedicated to M.K. Gandhi, which is also held on the banks of Bharatapuzha River. The Mamangam organizers moved the suit to High Court of Kerala, and during the case, the government leader expressed that although the state was not against the conduct of the event, they were merely concerned whether the temporary bridge would be able to accommodate the large amount of pilgrims who turn out in the festival. The High Court then asked the PWD engineer concerned to inspect the bridge and to take measures to strengthen it. The next hindrance came from Tamil Nadu government, which denied permission for the ritualistic Rathayatra of Mahameru idol associated with the Mahamagam festival. As a result, the organizers had to transport the idol by car up to Kerala border and then resume the Rathayatra from there. Despite all these challenges and struggles, the organizers went ahead boldly with the festival and the ceremonies began in the announced date itself. The number of pilgrims that visited Tirunavaya was overwhelming, and a major portion of Hindu community across Kerala gathered at the shores of Bharatapuzha to witness and to take part in the reawakening of an age-old tradition which had a momentary cessation 270 years ago. Now, coming to the question at the beginning, is this Mahamaka festival related to Mamangam or Kumbh Mela? The answer is a resounding yes. Just like what the Mamangam was in its initial time, this is also a festival of the Hindu community conducted at the shores of Bharatapuzha near the Navamukunda temple. The rituals practiced earlier were kept intact, and not just that, many other ceremonies were expanded with a view to accommodate all class of Hindus. making it even more popular and relevant than the age old Mamankam. Although the mythologies and origin stories slightly differ, in spirit, it is also the Kumbh Mela of Kerala. The pluralistic nature of Hindu society is resonated in the festival. This Mela has deeply affected the political realm in Kerala because it rekindles a sense of pride and unity within the Hindu community. Thus, this is not just a festival, but the reignition of a flame that was put out centuries ago under misfortunate circumstances.